At Homer Sparks writes, what are some tips on thickening vocals? First thing would be doubling the vocals. That's kind of a very common technique. Just do 2 takes of your vocal part as close as you can in terms of the timing and the pitch. Don't kind of improvise sections, just keep it as consistent as possible. Usually you don't mix them at the same level, although nothing's stopping you from doing that, but it becomes a little bit too pronounced of an effect. Mixing one a little bit lower underneath the other can give this effect of thickening without kind of drawing attention to itself. You can also, take that concept further and harmonize the vocals or get a different vocalist to double your part. But that's getting into like just a different musical idea. So as far as like different effects and tools go, reverb and delay are great ways of thickening up a sound. So using a tempo match delay, like a quarter note or an eighth note, just mixed very subtly, and you don't want to hear it as discrete echoes necessarily. So rolling off a lot of high end can help with that. And that just has the effect of like kind of extending the voice and sort of sitting under it as almost like a pad effect. Also reverb. Reverb obviously just creates a sense of density to the track. And one thing you can do, which is kind of cool, is try 2 different reverbs. So you have sort of more of a short room style reverb or a short ambience reverb. And that's kind of becomes the sound of your source track. And then add a bit of pre-delay, and then you can have a longer effect style reverb. So what the ambience is gonna do is it should be very subtle. It should be the kind of thing that you don't really notice unless you turn it off. And then the vocal just sort of gets smaller and collapses. So it has the effect of, not just thickening, but sort of giving this halo around the sound and widening it a little bit and giving it, just all those standard terms like depth and width and 3D quality, stuff like that. But it really does work and it sounds great. I'm gonna get into nerd territory here and just start listing out plugins. Waves makes one called the ADT, which is the automatic double tracker, which is modeled after an old Abbey Road effect that was literally invented for John Lennon because he loved the sound of double track vocals, but he hated actually having to sing a second take. So they just invented this thing that's kind of like a delay that modulates a little bit. And so it's a little bit like doubling in the sense that you're creating a copy, but you're adding some randomness and variation to that copy. I personally love Microshift by Soundtoys, which is kind of a cool widener, but it also has the effect of thickening things up, where it's just essentially creating 2 copies, pitching one slightly up and one slightly down. And then a variation on that is the Dimension D by Roland, which is like an old chorus box. It's billed as like the chorus for people who hate chorus. And I definitely fall into that category. I don't like the sort of obvious LFO cycle kind of sound of a chorus. And the Dimension D sort of gets rid of that. The nice thing is it's also idiot proof. It's just 4 buttons and you just pick the one you want. There's like chorus, even more chorus, and the most chorus. But it's got a great effect of kind of like the ADT, like widening and thickening and giving this sense of movement, but without this obvious cyclical quality that kind of more generic choruses have. So in plugin form, I know Universal Audio makes one, but you need their DSP cards to run it. Other options, there's the Ubic from Uhe or Uhe, never know how to pronounce that one, which is kind of a multi-effects, but they have a really nice chorus module that supposedly can do a nice Dimension D copy. And also the Ubermod from Valhalla, which is a nice affordable plugin. And then another thing, kind of the first thing I think of actually, well, second thing right after doubling would be parallel compression. There's also parallel saturation. So why I would recommend parallel instead of just slapping a compressor on, which will also have the effect of, compressing and thickening things up. When you do compression in parallel, it kind of lets you get a little more heavy-handed and sort of really get that density that compressors are really good at achieving, but without sounding heavy-handed, without losing the natural quality of the original take. So you set it up. If you don't already know how to set up parallel compression, just really quick, you would route your track out through an aux send into a bus, just like you would with a reverb, only you have a compressor on there. And then you compress it to your heart's content and mix it back in with the original. And that lets you get that really thick, dense sound, and then just mix it into taste. So you retain all the liveliness and dynamics of the original track, but with the thickness and, to repeat myself, the thickness and density that a compressor brings to the equation. Saturation is another one that's great in parallel. If it's a little too heavy-handed as an insert, set it up in parallel and it lets you get a little bit more extreme. Tape emulations too can be great at sort of a more subtle thickening, softening the highs, that kind of thing. So all these things in combination, some of them are more overtly effecty sounding than others. So it depends what you want to accomplish. If you want to accomplish sort of a more transparent thickening, look at doubling, look at subtle saturation, subtle parallel compression. If you want to go hog wild and have all kinds of cool effects, you can kind of look more into like choruses, delays, double tracking, all that kind of stuff. Hey everyone, I'm Al Easler, Senior Audio Engineer here at LANDR. If you like this video or any of the other videos on this channel, consider liking and subscribing. If you need help with your mix, leave a question or comment below and either myself or one of our other audio engineers will answer it. Thanks for watching.